All right, all right, all right. What is going on, friends? Jennifer Abbs here, your online business bestie, and we have an incredible surprise and interview. The famous, if you don't know, you got to Google, you got to follow him, look him up, John Melton. So John and I met, I think, 2.5, 3 years ago. It was pre-pandemic, maybe in the middle of the pandemic. So he's a top 50 earner in the online profession, top 3 in his company. He builds with his gorgeous wife, who is absolutely hilarious. I love her personality. You are the king of social media duplication. Like, that is what you do. And how I found you is you're consistent. You're consistent online. I followed you. I am a student of the Miltons. I have the ATM system, which is what we're going to talk about today. And I'm honored and grateful for you taking the time to be with us today. So thank you.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here, and I love your energy. That's why we get along, because we are both very energetic.
Absolutely. So you have so much content online that anyone can literally learn anything from starting an online business to growing and even scaling. What I want is a little more of the background of how you got started. You and Nadia got started 20 years ago. You had kids. It's where most people are even getting started to this day. So share us kind of that journey of what that looked like for you guys.
Yeah, we got started. I was 20 years old. I was broke, busted, and disgusted. No background in business, no business being in business. But I got excited about the concept of network marketing, leveraged income, residual income, you know what I'm saying? And I actually met Nadia. Nadia and I met in that first company. That company did get shut down back in 2002, 2003, something like that. And then we kind of got out of the industry. We kind of got out of it to do like, a real job. And we did mortgages. And during the mortgage boom, we made a fortune. I mean, at least for me at that time, that was a fortune. I was, community college dropout, no background in business necessarily, except for network marketing. That was the only like real business experience I had. Got into mortgages, didn't even know what a mortgage was, but I took what I learned. I took what I learned about network marketing and how to have a work ethic and how to not make excuses and how to communicate with people and, I guess learn how to sell really. And, I made $600,000 in 4 years in my mid-20s. And, for me, it was like, wow, like this is what success tastes like. Like I got a taste of it, but there was no residual, no leverage. So I kind of like still had that desire to build residual so I could, not only make a lot of money, but also have freedom, right? Be able to, raise my kids and go to my son's baseball games and all these things. So I got back into network marketing in 2006. By 2008, I fired my boss. And guess what? That was the last time the economy crashed like it is right now.
Yeah.
So, I went through that. I went through that whole, like, that economic uncertainty. Like it was scary back then, 2008, 2009, there was a lot of uncertainty. A lot of people had a 401k. We'd say a 401k that's now a 101k, right? They like lose their retirement. And I lost $1 million in real estate, ruined my credit, and the problem with mortgages, because it's a sales job, you're only as good as your last month.
Yep.
So every month you start at zero. So getting back into network marketing, I was like, man, I really want that residual. I want that leverage. But then we built with a company for 7 years, 5 years full time. And that was from 2008 to about 2013. We learned a lot. We learned about what to do, what not to do, right? But I just got to that point where I was like, I don't like the way I'm building my business. So guess what I started paying attention to? Social media. I started paying attention to the internet and how to like become like an internet marketer and build a brand. I didn't really know what that meant, but I liked it in theory. I liked the idea, the concept. And then eventually, hold on, let me shut my door. My dogs are barking. I think I was barking with your videos.
Didn't you have a real life back there? Dogs,
yeah.
kids?
I mean, and it's just funny because there's nothing to bark at, but my dogs, like one barks, the other one barks, and they just bark back and forth. But no, for us, I just really got to that point where I was like, I don't want to do network marketing if I have to leave my house every night and be out there pitching my business, talking about lifestyle when I don't have any. I want to be at home at night. Now I'm going to be 43 next month. Like, I like being at home at night. Like, I don't want to do I don't even want to do virtual meetings. I don't even, people are like, hey, can you train my team? I'm like, yeah, let me know some available dates. They're like, how about 8:00 Thursday night? I'm like, no, can we pre-record it? Because I like to get all my work done like right now. right? I'm
Totally.
talking to you. It's the middle of the day. I like to get all my work done during the day. Plus, I have more energy during the day. My kids are in school. Now my son's in college, which is just so weird. But I really wanted to create that perfect day. And I'd recommend all of you that are taking notes, write this down. What would my perfect day look like? Because if you figure that out and then you can work backwards,
Yeah.
everything makes more sense, because now you're like, okay, this is what I'm trying to create over here, and I can work backwards to figure out what it needs to look like, not just financially but from a time standpoint. That's why, like, for us, it's hard sometimes because we get a lot of opportunities to go, like, speak here, do this launch, be a part of this, write a book, do that, and we're like, we say no to a lot of things because I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't, number one, I want to focus on what I'm focused on. I want to focus on what I'm focused on,
Yeah.
and I don't want to be distracted. And I also know that, like, if you travel too much, even though I love traveling, it's my love
Yeah.
language. If you take on too much, you start to become resentful of your own business, and so does your family. So there is that balancing act as you build up a bigger business. You build up a bigger brand, a bigger following. More people know you. More people want you to do certain things. But eventually, I got to that point where I'm like, I'm not going to burn myself out. And
Yeah.
I love that. And I think you can appreciate this too, Jennifer. I love that I now have a schedule that if you were to say, hey, you're going to make the same money you're making now, you're going to have the same exact schedule 10 years from now, would you be okay with that? Now I would say yes.
Yeah.
But back when I was doing meetings every night, if you were to say, hey, what if you were still doing this 10 years from now? I'd be like, oh my gosh, like that would be a nightmare. I
Yeah.
mean, as much as I love doing meetings and meeting people, I like being home more. I like me more. I like my kids more than random people being in their house in a random city. Like, dude, we used to literally drive 2 to 3 hours on like a Tuesday to
Yeah.
go do a meeting in the middle of freaking nowhere. And sure, I could build a growing business that way and find some really good people. But guess what? I can also find them from this device here.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got a lot smarter. Working hard is cool, but working smarter is super cool.
Yeah. And I love that online, and I want to debunk the myth because it got told to me and it panicked me and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm leading my team in the wrong direction." But I
Right.
followed you. So I was like, "Hold on. I'm taking advice from someone who doesn't build online that I respected because he had the results and the lifestyle."
Right.
But the whole like network marketing isn't duplicatable online because I have 3 kids now, and when I got started it was in real estate, right? Because I affiliate marketing, 10 grand a person, awesome, but guess what, started over after that sale. Big
Yeah.
months are great, but I don't have no passive.
Right.
And I thought it was going to be with real estate, and now I know it's going to be with digital assets that will purchase real estate later, right?
Yes.
What is it, like 4 billion people, I just did stats, log into Facebook each and every single day, and they're escaping their problem. So we just have to show up and solve the problem. So
That's
talk
right.
about you guys transitioned online a little bit.
Well, there was a couple things we figured out. Number one, it's easier to sell product than it is to recruit people to sell product. Number one. Number two, it's easier to go viral based on the benefits and the intrigue of a product than it is to talk about a business.
Yeah.
Now, recently we have seen a lot more of these people going viral promoting affiliate marketing, but they're doing like income claims, and it's very scandalous and salesy, and some of those people are going to get in trouble straight up.
Agreed. I keep
Yeah.
seeing them. I'm like, you don't even know the
Yeah.
FTC is coming down. Yeah.
Yeah. And some of them might get away with it. And, but even with that being said, you're misleading people, because most people are not going to make millions of dollars with affiliate marketing, or most people aren't even going to make a profit. That's just the truth of any business. But what I found, and, we do affiliate marketing. But I was with a company that got shut down by the FTC. So I'm a lot more sensitive to that stuff. But what I found is, if you build a brand and you show up authentically and you tell your story and you offer insights and you show up consistently, you'll be surprised by how many people pay attention, how many people thank you for your time, thank you for sharing, thank you for your tips, because we all have our own unique perspective, our own unique personalities, and the way that we can show up. And there's all these different platforms and different things you can do. But I wanted to figure out a simple, duplicatable way to teach people how to generate leads, how to build a following, how to generate sales, how to build camaraderie online, build relationships online, build your own community. Because if you get really good, like I've got some people crushing it with like Instagram reels and Facebook
Yeah.
reels. I've got some people that have their own Facebook groups. I've got people that crush it with TikTok. I've got people that, are monetizing their knowledge and doing different things. But, at the end of the day, everybody kind of has their own style, their own way of doing it, and their own, unique perspective on things. So the way I teach people to start off is just to go live for like 5 minutes, share stories, talk about why you're starting your new business, why these new products, why you're doing this, why you're doing that. Talk about some of the things you're learning. Maybe you're reading personal development, or you're watching a show like this, a podcast like this, and you're like taking notes and you're turning around and teaching. I got that from Ray Higdon years ago, ILT, Invest, Learn, Teach. You'll be surprised by how many people, if you get really consistent, you get really good, and you have clarity on your message, how many people will come to you and ask you for advice. They'll start to look at you as an authority. And if you build a brand, you build up, really a brand is just it's just like your online reputation. So if you build up a reputation and people get to know you, like you, trust you, they'll buy anything from you because they trust that you have their best interest at heart. And that's why I think we've done so well. And here's the funny thing. People say it doesn't duplicate. My retention in my current business, I mean, I've got people that have been working with me. The first person I signed up in my current business is still with me today.
Yeah.
I've got people that have been with me 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. They're not here because they just like me and they just like Nadya. They do, but they're here because they're making money. They're duplicating. They have retention, and they're not doing Zooms and 3-ways and home parties and all that nonsense that, by the way, if people are watching this, they're like, hey, I do that stuff. That's fine. Listen, I'm not trying to knock you, but you have to admit it is time consuming. Yeah. It's time consuming. Like what we created with ATM, right? ATM, right? Yeah. Instead of inviting someone to a webinar, a PBR, private business reception, a one-on-one presentation in person or online or whatever, we add them into a group. Yep. And we tag them in a video. So we add, we tag, we message. The message is, hey, Sam, I just added you to these 2 groups. One's all about the products. One's all about the opportunity. Once you're in, let me know. Once you accept the invite, let me know. I'll tag you in the information based on what they're interested in, right? Someone wants to make money. They're going to want to watch the money-making video versus the, fat loss video product, right? Maybe they want to know both. So there's different videos you tag them in. But the point is, what I love about that is I've had people, just being honest, they watch the video. They're like, this is not for me. This is one of those MLM things. Great. I didn't waste any of my time.
Totally.
I only talked to them on Messenger, add them to a group, tag them in a video, and they're like, oh, no. And they block me. I'm like, good riddance. Now, I'll be honest, that doesn't happen very often. But if it does happen, right, you're like, okay, I didn't waste a moment of my time. Yeah. Versus back in the day, I'd be driving 45 minutes to go meet with this person. I do the whole pitch, build all this rapport. And then they walk out of the restaurant or the Starbucks or the whatever, and I never see them again. Yeah. That sucks, right? So for me, it's just more efficient. And quite honestly, it's more effective because, I mean, and I know a lot of people don't build this way in 2023, but back in the day, like I could only build my business in my local market. Right. I could build with people that were like within driving distance. Think about that. Now, I've got massive teams. You know where most of my momentum is right now? Where the most rank advancing is happening? It's in the UK. It's in the Czech Republic. I'm going there next month to do a tour. Like, it's so cool that some of these people I've never met before. I've met them like one time. I have an international multi-million-dollar business. And last year, now listen, we still recruit. We enrolled 7,000 people last year, but we brought in 180,000 new customers. So it is duplicatable. It is creating retention. We do have sustainability. And I'm not saying my people don't get burnt out, but not nearly as burnt out as they used to in the old school MLM way. So it's been really eye-opening because I built old school and I built new school. And I can tell you, if you can blend the two together, it's powerful.
So I want to talk about, because you just mentioned how you've got, the UK, like people opening up in other markets. And my experience is mentors are flying there for 2 days, 3 days, a week at a time. But I like being with my husband and my kids, and we're not ready to do that. I have a 2-year-old. So what I hear you saying is you can open up a market internationally via the ATM system.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because here's the thing. Let's say you go, hey, I want to get into the Spanish market. My company's opening up Spain and Mexico, whatever. Let's just say hypothetically. Okay, let's create some content, some videos, some resources in Spanish and add a Spanish guide, add a German guide, add a Italian guide, right? So you're adding people to the groups, tag them in the Italian video or the Spanish video. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I got teams in Canada, New Zealand, Australia, places I've never been before in my life. I've never been to Australia. I've never been to New Zealand. I've never been to Japan.
Right.
I've been to Canada like twice, and only Toronto, but I've got teams all over. We got customers all over Canada. So yeah. And it's funny. I had this guy, I'll never forget it. And he's like, if you can't be available for phone calls and three-ways and all these things, like I can't work with that. I'm like, cool, we're probably not a good fit. And he was also very demanding and had this posture of like, I've built all these big businesses. And I'm like, then why are we talking? He's like, what is that supposed to mean? I go, you build all these massive teams. How come you have to keep starting all over? 1 million people in this company, 100,000 in this company. You have to start all over for the fourth time? I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but that doesn't sound like success to me. That sounds like you suck at duplication or retention. Right. So I was like, listen, I talk to my leaders. First of all, my leaders, a lot of them, we don't even have each other's phone numbers, but they will tell you, they message me. I respond sometimes instantaneously because it's all through Messenger. So they get all the support they need and then some. And they don't have to worry about like, gosh, I hope John answers when I call. I hope John's available. Dude, I talked to this leader and I'll never forget this. She joined me actually like 2 weeks ago. And she was like, she's like, you respond to me quickly. And it's surprising because my own upline, it takes 2 to 3 weeks to get a response. Like, I'll never forget that. Like, I mean, that's probably the most absurd thing I've heard. This is her upline. Her upline takes 2 to 3 weeks to respond. And I probably make more in a month than her upline makes in a year. And again, I'm not trying to be cocky. I'm just saying, if you learn how to use technology, especially Facebook Messenger, even Voxer and some of these other apps. I hardly ever use Voxer now, but I know some people like it, or WhatsApp. Like, it's so easy to get in touch with people because you can send a quick audio clip and either they respond, or the other thing is my virtual team, my staff. Right. I've got like 3 people in the Philippines. I got, my project manager, Desi, she's in like Romania and she's all over the place. Actually, she travels. Like, they're in my inbox.
Right.
They're paying attention to my Facebook alerts. They pay attention to our team groups and our ATM groups. Like, we've got them trained so they can support all the things that are going on so that I can focus on what's most important, which is leadership development, working with new people, training, all the things that are most important. I'm not caught up in like the customer service stuff. I'm not constantly on the phone and exhausted. Right. I remember I was at dinner this one time, and I had to step away to do a 3-way call. And I had like 3 or 4 more 3-way calls that night. And I just remember thinking like, what am I doing? I had to step away from a dinner to do a stupid 3-way call. God, I don't even know if that person joined. And then I had like 3 or 4 I had to do after dinner. Like, at some point you're like, what am I doing? Like, this is not what I signed up for. And let's be honest, it's also not that lucrative. It's not like one day you're going to, sacrifice, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and then you're going to sell your business for this like massive buyout like you would in a traditional business. Right. So it's like, 5, 6 years from now, it's like, oh, I just have residual income. I mean, you can technically sell your business, but that's not like a thing that's like a common thing, right? The purpose of building a networking business is so that one day, God forbid, if something happens, that check is still rolling in from all the customers that are still ordering. So it's very different than a traditional business in that sense. And I think more people need to realize that, like, there's a way to do it that doesn't sacrifice, like you said, you have a 2-year-old, right? Like, you want to know that like you're raising your kid. There's mommy care better than daycare.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because, I have a lot of people on my team that they still work full time. They're not available for 3-way calls. And that's not duplicatable when you're working 10, 20, 30, 40 hours a day or 40 hours a week. And then, now Jen's got to do the 3-way calls. And now I've got 30 people that are, no, I'm not checking.
Right.
I have an office because when I pick up my kids, I decide when to check my messenger. Right. But there are moments, and this is what people don't talk about. Until they're on the stage and they've already made it, there is real struggle in marriages and children and the conversation with network marketing because of the expectation.
Yes.
I can't tell you, and probably you as well, how many people I'll have in Messenger and they're like, oh, I've been with my company for 5 years. I'm like, oh, you must have 10, 20, 30, 40. Oh, no, I don't have any.
Yeah.
You
Crazy.
just started a business.
Yeah. Oh, and people like that, it's like, are you selling the products at least? Like, no, I'm trying to build a team. It's like, you have nobody on your team and you're trying to build a team 5 years. I mean, clearly something's wrong with that, because that person at this point has such a mental block. They have no confidence. Like, anybody decent is going to ask a couple questions. Well, how big's your team? Like, what are you making? Oh, nothing. Yeah, still chasing it, still chasing the dream. Like, wait, 5 years you've made nothing? So the difference is, if you can teach people how to sell, I got people on my team that literally earn a 6-figure income just from their sales, not counting their team, just their personal freaking customer base. That is mind-boggling. And every company should have that opportunity. And I think a lot more companies do now. A lot more companies do have that opportunity. But back when Vima was shut down, back in 2015, company I was with before, I don't know of anybody that was making a full-time income from selling product. Most of those people were making a full-time income because they built a team. Now, the products were great. But listen, your customer base is not your downline. You know what I'm saying? Like, if the majority of your volume comes from the distributors buying their kits and running their subscription, that's not a real business. Right? So 85% of our revenue comes from customers. And it's what I think every network marketer, every home business owner, that should be their goal. Their goal should be to, like, okay, I'm going to recruit, but we're going to recruit and teach people how to sell and recruit. Like, I love the whole, like, well, should I sell or should I recruit? I'm like, why can't you do both? Like,
same thing.
It's the same funny thing. It's like, you can talk about both products and opportunity. So
yeah, it's the same thing. And it's interesting too, because I love recruiting just because that's my background as a store manager. I recruited into a store. So I just kind of took what I knew, and I had customer service skills. But I do the same thing with my team. And I'm like, listen, you need to sell the product so that you get commissions coming in, and then you believe you have a business. A, and B, the product's going to create stories, and then you're selling the story. So now someone's going to say, wait a second, John, I've been taking this fat blaster for 90 days. I lost 47 pounds. You're telling me your team gets paid? How do I do that? And you don't have to teach them anything, because they've been following you and they've already got the story.
Right.
So it's not like if, or, and, but. It's like, pick something and go.
Yeah. And I will say this. I've got a lot of people, they lead with like our 5-day drop or our belly blaster or our Botox in a bottle. They lead with like the product, they nickname it. I love that. And it's so easy to be like, hey, let me add you to this group so you can learn more about the product. Oh, by the way, do you also like money? Yeah, I like money. Cool. I can also add you to the group that has all the information on how we make money, because, who knows, maybe you love the product so much, you might want to share it with other people and get paid to share it. Like, yeah, sure, I'll check that out. So you can lead with the product, which is what a lot of my people do, and then offer the opportunity. But there's some people, I got people on my team, they just treat it like affiliate marketing on steroids. They don't want to build a team. They don't like recruiting. They don't like leverage. They just like promoting product. And you know what? I think that's awesome. I think whatever floats your boat. I don't agree with it necessarily for myself. I'd be doing both. But if someone wants to go sell product, they should be able to make money without recruiting. You think about realtors, right? Most realtors, they just sell houses. They're not like recruiting other agents, So I like to compare our business the same way. Yeah. It's like, you could be a broker. You could start your own agency and recruit other agents and train them up. But in the beginning, you should probably just like learn to sell a house, right? So it's cool that like in our business, a lot of these companies are now embracing this, that like there should be like an affiliate kind of promoter product selling side, not just recruiting recruiters to recruit recruiters.
Right.
And all the volume comes from recruitment. Like that's old school. You talk about old school? That's the old school mentality,
Well, and it's nice because people can leverage the word affiliate marketing. And I know you guys use social retail, but it's like network marketing is not what it was back when it got started, because you can literally do videos on the result. Because I've seen all the videos on weight loss, and here's the link, and you wake up and you're 10 grand, I've seen your team. I know what they're making off of viral TikToks because of the result of the product. Yes. And in my experience, most people that don't want to recruit, they come from, I call it network marketing PTSD, right? There's no systems in place. They're afraid if they don't have, and I still suffer with this. Like, if my team doesn't have any results, then I'm a bad recruiter. It's like, no, I just haven't decided to get the results, right?
Well, you start to feel guilty because you're like, recruiting is hard. It really is. Like, there's so many people out there that, I mean, there are some people that can recruit consistently, but most can't. But there's so many people out there that, like, within my organization and many organizations out there, they're bringing in 50 customers a month. I'm talking new customers
Right.
every 30 days. Like, yes, they got their existing buying, right? That's awesome. But they're bringing in 50 new customers, 100 new customers a month. Nobody is recruiting that many people. There's just not, unless they're like a massive influencer, but then that's not duplicatable. So I can teach someone how to go out there and become an influencer over time and become a person of value and build a community. But in the beginning, it's just easier to get customers than it is to recruit. You should do both, but it is easier for the average person to go sell a product than it is for them to recruit people to sell a product. And it makes sense too, because it's not just that it's easier because, you know, that person has a lower skill set, but also there should be more people out there wanting to buy your product than wanting to sell it. Like, you think about like a car dealership. There's more people that are driving cars because they bought a car than there are people selling cars, right? Duh. And that's in every industry. That's how it should be. But network marketing, it's weird because it's like, you know, there's some companies where it's like, I've seen people literally brag like, oh, we brought in 3,000 new distributors last month. And I'm thinking like, that's weird that I do way more volume than you and you recruit 10 times more people. Oh, that's right. Because all you do is recruiters to recruiters. Nobody's actually buying the freaking product as a customer. Or they have some weird like wholesale, like, hey, if you buy in as a distributor, you get a discount. No, that's not, because those people should not be in the system as a distributor, putting in their social security. They're not in it to make money. They're in it to just get a discount. The discount should be the same for everybody. And these are the little distinctions that, like, I don't know. I didn't understand that stuff because it didn't matter to me until my company was shut down by the FTC and I lost a 6-figure income in the blink of an eye. And I was like, all right, we need to do things differently.
Totally. Well, and that's one of the reasons why I follow you, because I have seen things happen and I want to follow someone that's been through the trenches so that you're like, hey, you need to look out because there is a trench in front of you. Hypothetically, here's how we navigate it. Here's how we maneuver, or you're going through blind. You don't know what's happening. And you're not a business owner because you're going through so blindly.
Yeah. And it really is interesting because you're a business owner, but you almost have to treat it like a job in the beginning, right? Where you have like set hours of operation. So, you know, like, okay, because, you know, this is funny, like, I'm my own boss. I own my own business. And it's like, you can take the rest of the day off. Like, no, dude, you talk to like 3 people, you know? So it is so funny because, you know, you think about like waiting tables, bartending. Like, I waited tables. I never bartended, but you have to like show up at a certain time. You have to stay until all the work is done, the side work, all that stuff. And it sucks. And that's to make like hardly any money. At least when I waited tables, it was hardly any money. Now they get paid a little more than maybe they used to, but still with inflation, it's probably about the same. But the bottom line is you will show up to some crappy part-time job or drive Uber because you need to make money. But then you start your own business and you kind of like, you know, hey, I spent an hour scrolling on Facebook. Man, that was exhausting. Like, no, dude, that's not actually working your business. That's scrolling Facebook.
There's income producing activities. And if you don't do them, your needle doesn't move forward. And in the beginning, it's the only thing you have to do. There we go. That's all you have to do is clock in. It's incredible. I talk to so many people and I'm like, okay, when are you clocking in and out? Like, what are your, I'm like, call me back when you know when you're clocking in. Cause I can't tell you what to do until like, for right now, I'm going to be your boss.
It's amazing how many people literally get in and do nothing. I mean, it is shocking. And it doesn't matter how good your systems are. If they don't watch the videos, they don't plug in, they don't reach out to people, they don't post. You know, it's like, I always tell people there's 2 P's to profits. 2 P's to profits. Prospecting, obviously, and posting. You got to do both. Now, you don't need to do both technically, but if you only do one or the other, you're just missing out on a huge opportunity. So it's preferable to do both prospecting and posting. That's what leads to profits, because when you're prospecting, you're planting seeds. When you're posting, you're watering those seeds, and vice versa. Sometimes you're planting seeds through your posting, through your videos, through your marketing. And then you're watering those seeds by nurturing a relationship and staying in touch and not having commission breath. And you know, the longer I've done this, the more I've realized you have to have an abundant mentality. And that's why I put out so much training, so much free content, because you will attract people to you in one way or another that either want to buy your products, they want to sell your products, they want to join your team, they want your leadership, they want your mentorship, they'll buy your course, they'll promote your stuff because you bring value instead of being like, oh, I'm only going to help people that are like in my downline, or I'm only going to help people if they're making me money. It's such a scarcity way to look at things. Like even within our company, and I'm sure inside your company too, right? Like there's other teams that like they learn from each other. They learn from other leaders
Oh yeah.
inside the organization, and that's powerful. It shouldn't be like the company I was in years ago. For 7 years, I was with that company. It was always like, oh, you're on that team. Oh man, our team is this, and our team does that. And oh, if you're on that team, you can't even come to our meetings because this is a closed event. This is only for people on our team, and it just created a lot of like toxicity. It wasn't a healthy environment because ultimately it created a very competitive, just, not so supportive, just type of what would be the word, like the environment was just toxic. It just wasn't a healthy place to be for people. So it sucks because sometimes like you might be in a different market, or you might not, the person you recruited might not be as committed as you, right? They might not be as hungry as you, but it's nice to know like, oh, there's a sideline sister over here, or there's
Totally.
people that I can relate to, and like, yeah, I'm not on their team, but they still help me out. And I think that's really important, especially online, to have like a community that people can plug into where, maybe the person that they enrolled with isn't as plugged in, they're not as committed, but it doesn't mean they can't succeed. That doesn't mean they can't still have success because there's plenty of other people they can follow and learn from. That to me is also a really big part of network marketing that's so special and so rare, how there's a lot more collaboration versus competition these days.
Yeah, I have a lot of people that that will join what we're doing because they come from, the different part of it. And so they're like, well, how do you build on Facebook? Why do you, first of all, it's like, you do what? I'm like, yeah, 10 years. They're like, how? I'm like, well, let me show you. Like I had 2 kids in diapers when I started, and I was in so much debt I couldn't go back to work. I would have been in it for the rest of my life. So it was like, this is gonna work, and I got to figure this out, and I can't leave my house.
Right.
So it's like there's so many people that haven't been able to retire, and they're following, let's do a home party, let's do this and that, and they're doing it, but they're doing it begrudgingly. And it's like, listen, I'm not knocking it. It works. Hallelujah. But there's a different system, and it's funner and it's better, and we do videos and there's a community. So I love that.
And it's so much more inspiring. It's better for retention. It's because, the hardest part is what happens with a lot of people is they get excited, but that excitement wears off quick, right? That's why we recommend motivation daily, just like bathing, because if you don't bathe daily, you're going to stink. If you're not getting the motivation and the personal development daily, you're going to stink. And it's the same thing in our business, right? Because, especially with the days of, like during COVID, there was no in-person events. There was, it's like all that stuff was kind of like not happening. So having virtual was awesome. Personal opinion, you got to have both. So like next week we rented a mansion in Orlando. We're doing this big team retreat with like 25 leaders. Like that stuff can last a lifetime. Those memories, those experiences, those relationships, and in-person events. Like I'm glad those are back, thank God, because the virtual stuff kind of like is the glue in between the in-person. So you really want to have both. Now, do I think you should do weekly meetings and all? No, but hey, what about doing like a happy hour once a month?
Totally.
For 3 hours on a Friday, once a month or once every 2 months, you just get together with people that are local, just building relationships and finding ways to connect with people outside of just business conversations. That stuff makes a big difference. And I think, that should be a part of the culture. In-person events should be a part of the culture, just not all the time. Like you shouldn't have like, you were talking about traveling and all that. Like, I love to travel. I think it's awesome. I've got a huge team in Europe now, but you know how many times we've been to Europe for our business? Once. We're literally going for the second time next month, and that's mostly because we want to go to the UK and Prague anyway. But it's like a tax write-off, go spend time with our team. They're corporate training. So corporate's paying for them, corporate's organizing them, corporate selling tickets, corporate's doing all the things. We just fly in, speak, and dip. It's amazing.
And that's exactly what I want to create. I see so many leaders all across the board, and they're leaving their families and they're Zooming and they're like, time freedom. And I'm like, no, you don't, there's an affection to the kid.
Yeah.
Sell it how you want. But for me and my kids, especially Austin's 2.5, so not quite ready for international, just personally. But with my daughters, it's like my idea of traveling is I'm going to go to Europe. I'm going to speak for half a day, whatever. And then we have a week off to go explore Europe with my family, and they're there.
Yes.
I'm not trying to do Zoom to back to back to Zoom to back to like, or not even Zoom, but you know, they'll fly in, they'll do an event, and then they just meet one-on-one back to back to back. I'm like, that is just time consuming. Like we can, let's talk about efficiencies and systems.
Yeah. And it doesn't really duplicate. Like most people are not going to do that. That was what we started to realize. We're like, dude, we're doing these meetings every night. Like people are not going to go out every night away from their family. Like there has to be a better way. And, you know, of course you still have to work hard. You still have to figure out a sacrifice and figure out a way to like balance all the things. Right. But at the end of the day, it's there's a way to do both. I always say I want an and life, not an or life. Like I'm either going to become a millionaire or be a great parent, a great husband. No, I want to do it all. I want to have lifestyle, and I want to be healthy and fit, and I want to be a great parent, and I want to build a multi-million-dollar business, and I want to have investments, and I want to have like beach house. I mean, we want all of it, right? So like, why not? Why can't you have, you know, your faith, your fitness, your finances, your family, your friends? Why can't you have all those things, you know? And I would challenge anybody. I'll challenge anybody. I'll debate anyone. Like, oh, that stuff doesn't duplicate. Like, okay, well, how much did you do in revenue last year? How much did you make? How many of your people are winning? Because I'll put my team up against any team in network marketing. I'll put my paycheck up against anybody. And I'm not a master distributor. I'm just in someone's downline like anybody else. So, you know, the fact is, I think people need to open their minds. Most people have, but still people are not like catching on. Like you're missing it. You're missing such a huge opportunity. And you've obviously figured that out, Jennifer. I mean, look at you, look how well you're crushing it. And it really is exciting because eventually you get to the point where you're like, money's no longer something I have to worry about. And I think that's what we all want to get to.
Yeah. I love it. So let's talk about the ATM really quick. We have a link. Full disclosure, I'm not an affiliate marketer for John. I'm a student of John's. I've gone through, I'm sure several. I've probably bought and everything. I went through it. I'm a student. I have built several businesses using the ATM system. We're duplicating it within our team, but I'm not the teacher. I'm gonna pass that off to the teacher. So you want to talk about your ATM, and I'll throw it up on the board here.
Yeah. So our ATM Academy really is just teaching people every aspect of our system, from, you know, generating leads, generating sales, what to do with those leads, what to say, the scripts, the follow-ups, the launching, the onboarding, the conversions, the group chats, all the things that are incorporated inside of our system. And I think it's really important for people to learn this protocol, if you will, learn this process, because it's not something that you can just like wing it. Like, let me just start a group and just start posting. No, dude, it needs to become, it has to be very systematic. Like, thank God for Nadya, because she's way more methodical, way more organized than yours truly. I am like a bull in a china shop, but there's people that need the structure. They need the step-by-step. So that's what this course is.
Yeah. And I love that. I'm the same. I'm like, listen, tell me what to do and I'll go do it. And my team's like, and I'm like, Shanessa, I need you to create the system. Yeah. I'll do the thing and you create the system. So yeah, I've gone through it. I've built several systems with it. One last question. We didn't really talk about time, so I want to respect your time. If someone's brand new, because I know personally, because I'm still involved with what you do, that you are still recruiting. You're still in the field. You do your thing. You're still recruiting. Yeah. I see Michelle, right? Hey, John, built a team today, right? So you're doing it, and you're in it. When it comes to the ATM system and teams, do they need to build their own group? Is it better if everyone comes?
I mean, I guess it kind of depends. Like, if you don't have a group, then you got to do what you got to do, right? One thing I would not recommend is saying to your upline, we need to build a group. Like, no. I mean, you could talk to your upline, but if they're like not about it, you have to go prove it, unfortunately, right? Yeah. We had to go prove that this system worked when we first launched it because it wasn't proven. So we had to go figure it out, and then the whole company got on board. But we weren't trying to convince the company. I'm like, this is what we're doing for our team. Yeah. This is what we're going to do for our team. But that should be the mentality. The mentality should be, hey, let me go figure this out. Let me do the course. Let me do it on my own, and then we'll roll it out to everybody else. But you don't want, like, once you build it up, the idea is the whole team can use the ATM group. Yeah. Now, do I have leaders that created their own ATM? Yeah, but they're like, you know, Bryn, Marina, like they're like massive 7-figure earners, right? They're big time leaders. And I didn't tell them to start it. They wanted to start it,
Yeah.
right? Like I have some teams, they started their own ATM and they like shut it down because they're like, dude, what am I doing? This is so much work. It's so much less exciting. I'd rather just plug into your group where there's like people posting all day, every day. I'm like, I agree. So it's better just to have one group that everybody uses versus starting your own. But if you're like, hey, no one in my company has it, well, then you're going to have to be that person.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. Awesome. Well, any last minute advice for anyone getting started? First of all, this time of life, right? Recession for some people, I've gone through it. And I tell you that I almost have like little spidey tinklies because when I got started, it was right after, well, it was in 14, but I went through a little bit differently. We had a short sale. I was a store manager. I wasn't allowed to give my employees raises. And I was like, I can't give them a quarter and they're working 12 hours a day. It affected me as the leader in my store. This is, I'm going to buy them pizza then. Like, how can I reward hard work? So talk about really quick. I know I just don't know what your time looks like. Someone transitioning from, my husband is a great example. He has been with his company for 17 years. He works for Albertsons and they got bought out again. So Safeway bought him first and now Kroger's buying them.
Wow.
Every single day he's like, I secretly am like, I hope you do lose your job because then I'm really going full time.
Right.
Stay home daddy for a minute. Right. But he's very fearful and he's done one thing for 17 years. And so he's like, babe, I don't know what you do. Doesn't understand it. But God, he's amazing at mindset. He would just be so good at it.
Yeah.
What would you say to him?
I mean, the thing is you have to have that entrepreneurial spirit, right? You have to want to do something different. Sometimes they just have to hear the right person at the right time. One thing that I always stand by is events. So if someone says, hey, I really want to get my spouse on board, but they're just not listening, I'm like, well, how much are you making? They're like, I'm only making $1,000 a month. I go, well, that's why he's not listening. But bring him to the next event where he can meet people making 6 figures a month. And if that doesn't motivate him, nothing will. But I've seen so many times where like a husband gets involved, brings the wife to the event, and now they're building together, or vice versa. The wife's involved, she's crushing it. Now when she starts making all this money, the husband's like, wait a second.
Yeah.
How does it work? So it's really like, if you want to get your husband's attention, just make so much money they can't ignore it. Number one, right? It's like, what's that Steve Martin quote? Be so good they can't ignore you, right? But then on the flip side too, if they see the big picture, sometimes your significant others like, oh, honey, your cute little your cute little business, like, oh, I'm sure it's really big and really successful. And even if you are making money, they might think I'm not that type of person. But if they're just supportive and they just love you and encourage you, the only thing I've ever seen that sucks for me is when I see or hear a spouse, a husband or a wife is not supportive. They're saying like, oh my gosh, you have to keep doing all those videos. Why do you have to share all that personal stuff? Why do you have to keep, getting on these calls? Or why do you have to keep listening to all these boring books? Or why do you like that? That's tough. When your spouse is like, not just not involved, but they're literally like, anti-network marketing. They're anti you doing something else, like I've even heard like, and this is typically a husband that does this, like, honey, why do you have to do that? Like, I can take care of you. I can provide for you. You don't need to do that. You don't need, but then the wife is typically like, look, I want to do this. Like, I want my own money. I want my own thing. The kids are a little bit more independent now. They're a little bit older. Like, I want to do my own thing. Like, don't worry about it. Right. So sometimes it just depends on the relationship and the dynamic, but there are times where the spouse, like they come to an event and they're like, oh shit, I didn't realize how big this was. I didn't realize how amazing this is a little bit more legit than I realized. Like, I love when someone comes to one of our events and they're like, I just thought this was like some little thing my wife was doing or some little thing my husband was doing. I didn't know, or my mom. I didn't know my mom. Like, but whoa, this is legit. I'm like, I know. I try to tell you. So it really is one of those things where they just need to see the big picture because they didn't catch the vision. They haven't been to the events. They haven't seen what you've seen. So they don't know what you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And they see the sacrifice. So they're like, you're not here. I don't know what's happening. So yeah.
They're like, I mean, are you making $1 million a year? Or like, well, no, but I'm on my way. They're like, yeah, sure. But then when you are at $1 million, now they're super supportive. Isn't that interesting?
I love it.
But if you get them on board sooner, then you might get there sooner. That's like the rub, right? Because typically with like, especially like men and women, they both have like strengths and weaknesses, likes and dislikes. Like I like doing things like this. I can do interviews all day. Nadia doesn't want to do stuff like this. She never, I get people that are like, hey, so is it going to be both of you or just you on the interview? I mean, it's just going to be me. Like, it's hard for me to get her to even go live with me because she's just doing a lot more analytical, more detail oriented things on the back end. Plus, let's just keep it real. It takes longer for a woman to get ready for camera, right? I could just, like, I haven't even showered today. I was in the hot tub. I'm about to go hit the gym. Like, it's easy for me just to go live and talk. She's not the same as me in that regard. But in person, who do you think's more memorable?
Oh, you both are.
No, let me just tell you, when people spend personal time with Nadia, it's quite.
Well, she just has like this. Well, first of all, the speech, the language is just so fun to listen to.
Got
but
the accent, man. Sexy.
The way you guys talk to each other, I mean, it was such a blessing to see you guys at Faith Over Fear because the way, okay, baby, okay. And then she'll interrupt, okay, baby, okay. And you guys are just.
Oh, baby, hold on. I have another thought. Hold on. Just hold on 1 second. Let me share. Yeah.
I love it. And you're like, okay. Yeah. I love it.
Dear. Go ahead. Yeah, it was a tragedy. We only had 20 minutes up there because it's, you know, I could speak on stage all day with her. It's so much fun. But the thing is, too, it's like, you know, sometimes the spouse just isn't that type of person. They're just not going to ever be. But if they're just like, hey, I'll watch the kids while you go on your trip, or I'll watch the kids while you do your Zoom, or I'll watch the kids while you're making your videos. Like that, it is like I have a lot of my top leaders. Actually, I can say the 3 biggest earners on my team, Amber, Marina, and Bryn, all 3 of them, their husbands do not do anything. But guess what? Super supportive. Yeah. They're all super supportive, and they're all like involved in different ways with the kids, the family, different aspects. But their spouses are not involved. They don't come to the events. They're not involved in their business, and that's cool too. So, you know, at the end of the day, everybody's different, right? But I do think it's quite powerful if you're fortunate enough to have your spouse and you guys work together. It is a huge advantage for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, they can be, like you said, my husband, I wanted him to be a stay-at-home dad because we have a 2-year-old son and we both have girls from previous marriages. So it's like, baby, be the daddy right now and go do this. And he's brilliant at Excel and the numbers. And I'm like, listen, I bring it in, you manage it. Like, let's go.
Right. I love that. That's exactly how Nadia is. Nadia is the analytical one in the family. Like she pays the bills. She handles all the finances. She's all the things. Like there's so much. Like it's a laundry list. And she's like, you know, all you do is just talk to people.
Yeah. Yeah. But
I'm like, maybe you want to talk to people all day? She's like, no. I'm like, well, there you go. Right. So it's just so funny because sometimes we'll nitpick on each other. Like, baby, can you help with this? She's like, oh, on top of this is it. Why can't you do it? I'm like, baby, I'm talking to people. I got work. I'm doing She's like, all you do is talk same things over and over again. I'm like, yeah, that is kind of true. I just say the same things over and over again. How easy is my life? she put one of those Garment wristbands on me one time to check my stress level. And she's like, you're like chilling all day. My stress doesn't spike all day. Just all day, I'm like mellow all day.
That's awesome. I wish. I'm good at work, and then I get home, mom life. That's a real thing.
No doubt. My kids are older now, so it's a different type of, you know, it's teenage stress. You're like, you know, why are you arguing with me? I'm not arguing. Now you're arguing about arguing.
I know. You guys will have to write a book on like parenting and network marketing. I tell my kids, because they're 9 and 8. I'm like, you guys should start a YouTube channel called Life of a Parent Network Marketer, because wow.
You know, we always say though, like, because the whole parenting thing, we're like, we don't even know if we're good. We're like, we think we're good. We're like, we'll find out when they're like 25, 30, they have their own kids. Then we'll know it. Then maybe we could write the book. It's like, we got kind of lucky.
Yeah, we do have a blessing where we get to introduce them to different ideas, though, with network marketing, but also with who you surround yourself in this business, because this is a vehicle for another thing, right? Real estate investing, or, you know, my girlfriend wants to build a retreat and a winery and all these different things. And so your kids are exposed to thinking bigger because you're around bigger thinking instead of like, go be a cop or a doctor or a lawyer, because that's all we know how to do. So it's nice.
No, it really is powerful to have choices, you know, just to have options. It's, you know, my kids, as an example, we were like, are they gonna join your team one day? I don't know. That's up to them. Like, I'm definitely not going to beg and convince them to get rich with me, you know, and my money is my money. Doesn't mean I can't help you with stuff, but that's my money. You ain't
totally. Yeah. I love it. Well, listen, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for spending time with us, giving us the real truth. We got the link below. I will also drop it below, and this will go everywhere, and I'll give you a copy. And thank you for always. I can attest, and I'm not on John's team, but when I send him a messenger, I think probably the longest was maybe 3 or 4 hours, and that's like we're both flying or something is like, hey, sorry, just got off the plane, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And I'm not in your organization. Like, I'm just Jen.
Yeah. People are like, how do you do that? I'm like, I'm a machine. I am literally, but I'm also like, this is all I do. Like, it's kind of funny. I made the joke, but literally, this is all I do. I'm not like doing 19 other things. And, you know, and of course, it does help that we make hundreds of thousands a month. Of course, I'm going to focus on this. Yeah. But how do you think I got there?
Right. Talking to people.
Focus, right? That's the problem with a lot of people is they're easily distracted, easily discouraged, easily overwhelmed. I'm like, dude, it's hard to get rich. I'm sorry. Next question.
It's hard to be broke too.
Choose your hard.
Choose your hard. All righty, sir. Well, thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure. I'll talk with you soon.
Bye, Jen. Thank you.
Bye.
See ya.